Who's actually going to get the most out of a hand pump espresso maker, and who would be better off sticking with a regular drip brewer or a pricey electric machine? More importantly, does it make sense to spend the money for a portable, stainless steel unit when you're just looking for a decent cup on a weekend camping trip? If you're on the fence, you're not alone. Most people I've spoken with are trying to balance the novelty of Barista-level coffee on the road with the reality of a device that needs a bit of practice. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I started this review by digging through forums where portable coffee makers get the most heat. The recurring theme was the fear of buying a gadget that looks cool but ends up being a hassle. For a device that promises a 16-bar pressure range, the biggest worry is whether you can actually hit that pressure without overexerting yourself, and whether the resulting shot will taste like it came from a CAF or a kitchen sink. The other side of the coin is the practical question: will this thing survive the bumps of a backpack, a car trunk, or a desk drawer without bending or leaking? Those are the concerns that matter most to everyday buyers, not just the specs on a product sheet. Let's talk about who this thing is truly built for. If you're a coffee enthusiast who spends a lot of time outdoors, think hikers, van life travelers, or even office workers who love a good espresso but hate the commute to the nearest coffee shop, this pneumatic machine fits the bill. The stainless steel body gives it a weight that feels solid but still fits into a medium-sized backpack. The fact that it disassembles into a few parts means you can clean it after a day on the trail without needing a sink. You just rinse the brew head and the piston, reassemble, and you're ready for the next morning. For those who are already comfortable with manual brewing methods, like AeroPress or French press, the learning curve feels familiar. You're pulling a lever, watching a pressure gauge, and timing your extraction. The adjustable gauge from 1 to 16 bar lets you experiment with light, calf-style pulls or go full force for a richer, crema-filled shot. On the flip side, the machine isn't a great fit for the casual coffee drinker who just wants a quick caffeine fix without any extra steps. If you're the type who microwaves a cup of instant coffee at the office because you're short on time, you'll probably find the hand pump action too involved. The process requires you to preheat water, grind beans to a fairly fine consistency, and then pump enough pressure, usually a few dozen pumps, to reach the desired bar. That can feel like a chore when you're already juggling meetings or a campsite setup. Also, people who are very particular about temperature stability might be disappointed. Since there's no built-in heater, you're reliant on external equipment, a kettle, a portable stove, or a thermos, to get the water to the sweet spot of 90-95 C. The machine itself won't regulate temperature, so the final shot can vary depending on how steady your water source is. Now let's dig into practical strengths. The most immediate advantage is the pressure gauge. Because you can actually see the bar level, you get a visual cue that most manual brewers lack. In real-world testing, that gauge helped me avoid under-extracting something that typically makes coffee taste sour and weak. By aiming for around 912 bar on a 30-second pull, the espresso showed a decent amount of crema, especially considering there's no heat-controlled pump. The stainless steel construction also proved resistant to rust after a week of exposure to a moist tent environment, which is a common failure point for cheaper aluminum models. Another point worth highlighting is the one-way stop valve. When the pressure builds, the valve prevents backflow, so you don't have to worry about water spilling back into the pump chamber, a small but frustrating issue on many older pneumatic brewers. Weaknesses become apparent once you move past the first few drinks. Because the machine relies entirely on manual pumping, you'll quickly notice fatigue if you need to brew multiple shots in a row. For a single espresso it's fine, but a small group of friends at a campsite will find the process a bottleneck. The brewing chamber holds only about 30 milliliters of water, so you can't make a larger Americano without refilling the kettle and repumping. That's not a deal breaker, but it does limit the range of coffee styles you can produce. Also, the lack of an integrated grinder means you'll have to carry a separate grinder or pre-grind beans, something that adds extra bulk to your pack. Finally, the extraction consistency can be a little erratic if your grind size isn't spot on. Since the device doesn't have a pressure release system, a too fine grind can cause the pump to stall, forcing you to back off on pressure or accept a weak shot. What about value for money? The price point sits in the mid-range for portable espresso.